killing bush. I've got him at gunpoint. Check the left over for full evacuation at this time. We're pulling them out.
911. Advise ready for encampment.
God!
Welcome to another episode of War Stories. I'm Tom.
I'm Chuck.
And we're back for another episode. And this week we are international.
Yeah, we're in Australia.
We're going to be.
Fast forward, we're future.
We're speaking to the future. We always talk about that. We have Jimmy with us, right? Chuck, tell us about Jimmy. I mean, some listeners will know who Jimmy is.
Well, Jimmy's from down under, and he likes kangaroos, long strolls on the marsh. He likes crocodilians, and he was in the Australian Armed Forces, and now owns his own business.
Welcome. You've been on the show before.
Yes,
for various things. And here you're back to talk about some of your other stories. So real quick, I know it's 5:40. It's like 5:30, 5:40 on a Wednesday for me. Are you all
right
past midnight? Where are you at?
Mate, I'm 10:43 Thursday morning.
Yeah. So
like it's a day and 7 hours behind.
Right. He's got the whole night behind him and still into the morning. So how have you been?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. Not too bad at all. Recovering from surgery again, just for something different, but getting there.
Are we're just deciding to have surgeries nowadays willy-nilly? Is that what the kids do? Yeah,
pretty much. Instead of collecting marbles, I'm collecting scars.
Hey, you know what? What do they say? Pain is temporary, glory is forever, and chicks dig scars.
100%. But I had to go in through my forearm this time, and I was more upset about them messing up my tattoos than the actual operation itself. So
stop.
How bad?
Say again.
Stop.
How bad they messed up?
No, I got lucky. I told them to charge extra to make sure they lined it all back up. But it was about a 65 millimeter cut through my forearm to reattach my bicep.
Oh, that's right. You completely blew that out and, detached.
Now,
yeah.
That's not.
Yeah. I did it in January, but just kept working and training. And it just wasn't getting any better. And when I did see the surgeon on a Tuesday, he's like, "You're an idiot. This is the kind of thing you should leave for a couple of days, not a couple of months. I'll see you Friday." And that was about 3 weeks ago.
Was it a partial or a complete?
30 mil distal ligament tear. Whatever that means. It didn't fully retract. One of the ligaments kind of held it in place, which is probably the only reason I could continue doing what I did.
So it was weird. I had something similar with a labral and slap tear. But it was weird. Like, it didn't hurt like you would expect it to. It was kind of like sore, but you're like, whatever, dude. And I just kept going on it.
Yeah, exactly.
It looked weird.
It looked weird and it felt weird when it happened. I feel like a pop. And it kind of buckled me, but then it felt a little bit better the next day and just kept training, kept pushing, kept training. Got to a point where it just wasn't healing. So went and got the MRI, and sure enough, I torn it.
Yeah, dude. At least that's all you tore, And it was only partial.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't full retraction, but that's a bitch of a surgery, dude. It's not fun.
I don't want to do that. Doesn't sound like.
No, definitely would not advise it. The hard part for me now is no training and no driving. I'm not allowed to drive for 9 weeks.
Driving?
Which is because I got manual and I did it with my left arm. So your right arm over there, kind of thing. But
so you'd have to reach across your body.
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
That'd be difficult.
So it's just and no working, no training, no driving. Literally, feel like I'm in a prison cell.
And it's 9 weeks to that.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, to be honest, if you'd have gone sooner, would it have been a shorter recovery time, or is that's what it is?
No, I think that's pretty standard recovery time for that type of surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't need any grafts, so I was lucky.
Well, so now when you say training, is it just going to the gym to keep yourself in shape, or are you actually training for an event?
No, just going to the gym. I go to the gym 5 days a week, and just more mental health now. Originally, it was to try and build this and lose fat and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But since I haven't been in the last 3 weeks, I can kind of see just how much going to the gym was actually helping me mentally. Now not going, I can definitely feel it.
I feel you on that, dude. I've been doing this game for 2 fucking years.
So I read
something
a little bit insane
about a Japanese concept, and
what the Harry Carey thing where they sliced their belly open, or what?
Is that the only thing you know about Japanese concepts?
I know a good amount about Japanese culture, but
they have this.
I don't know about all their mental shit.
They have this concept about balance, and they basically are saying when your mind is exhausted, right? When your mind is taxed, then the only way to get yourself feeling good again is to make your body physically exhausted as well. And so that's the way they justify it. When your brain is taxed, when your brain is exhausted, you need to go do exercise. You need to go to the gym, because the problem that your body is having is that you're out of balance, because your brain is stressed, but your body is not. So when you go put your body under stress, you bring your body into balance, because then it takes the brain stress, matches it with the physical stress. Right. It's just an interesting concept. Like we always say, take your mind off your problems and go work out, right? It's always, if you work out, you'll focus and you'll feel better, and endorphins. And the Japanese are just like, nah, your body's out of balance. Your brain is tired, but your body isn't. So you need to go get your body into balance by working.
Yeah, definitely.
Stress.
That makes a lot of sense, because at work, like any law enforcement officer knows, like after a long stretch of days working, whether or not you're working 410, 312s or a 980 or whatever, at the end of that stretch of days and you're at home, or that first, like that last shift, and you're driving home, you're like, oh fuck, thank God, right? Your body's tired, you're mentally tired, your whole body is taxed, and you get home, and depending on how rough it was, you either enjoy your days off or you're fucking in a mental prison. But for the most part, you enjoy the time off and the days off. You're like, oh, this is so fucking good. You wake up, you're like, this is great, I don't have to go to work, and you can really enjoy and not take for granted your days off. And then say you get into an injury and you get fucked for like months at a time, and the first maybe month or two you're like, oh, this is fucking awesome, I'm home, it's a vacation. And then fucking reality sets in, is I don't know when the fuck I'm gonna get better, I don't know when I'm gonna get back to doing normal life. And now you don't have that work to keep you in balance. That mentally in balance, physically in balance, the whole body in a yin and a fucking yang. All right, you don't have that, and so you're all out of whack. And I think mental health comes into a big play. And and if you're not able to do that, do they have anything else that they do for people who are physically injured and they have mental issues going on?
I didn't get that far into what they do when you can't. But it was just the idea of if your mind is taxed, you need to tax your body to balance you out.
Makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Like I've been walking the soles off my shoes, but it's not the same thing to actually just get into a gym, hit a punch bag, or throwing weights around. It's just not the same.
Mm-hmm.
Can you still go and watch? Like, is it walking distance where you can get a good walk in and just socialize, and then walk back and use that as your?
Yeah, I'm still knocking up 10 plus 12 plus Ks a day kind of thing, but where I'm living at the moment, there's no real curb and gutter, so you're kind of walking on the edge of the road. A lot of industrial. I think a lot of people got their licenses for a one-day course where sticking between two white lines seems to be a full-time job for most people. So to actually make it home would be a different story about being cleaned up by a driver.
Cracker Jack box.
Yeah,
pretty much.
So for the listeners, Jimmy, why don't you give them a reminder of your background in the Australian Armed Forces, and then kind of share whatever you want about where you're at now, and then we'll get.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, mate. So I joined the Australian Army in 2003. Um, uh, my dad was in the army um, in the same corps as I was, Royal Australian Engineers back in the day. So I grew up listening to all his war stories and how cool it sounded and what they were getting away with back in the day, which can't get away with these days. But I was 18, 19. I was an apprentice plumber, and I had a couple of hard ass tradies that were being mean to me. So I thought life was difficult and went and joined the army. And then I found out what it was like to be really hated. So it was a massive growing up curve. I grew up from a loving family. Mum and dad did the best they could with what we had, which wasn't much. Mum was quite sick growing up. She's still alive now. Dad's in a nursing home with Alzheimer's, so tables are turned. But so I did that in 2003. Went through basic training, which is about 45 days. Then come out, went to initial employment training, which is our IETs for our core training, and that was 12 weeks at the School of Military Engineering down in Sydney.
So it sounds
Got
like
out of
that would
there.
be the equivalent of what we call your A school or your MOS school, where you go
Very much so.
and then you get your
Yeah.
training for what your job will be after.
Yeah, exactly. So finished all that off, got to my unit up in Darwin, which is the top end of Australia, nice and hot and humid. And I was up there for a couple of years. Didn't do much. It was things are hyping up overseas with Afghanistan and everything that was going on. But the senior diggers and the senior troops generally got those rotations. And I posted out of that unit, went down to another unit in Sydney. And then once I was down there, I started doing. I had one deployment doing what they would call border protection, where we spend about 6 months with the Navy, just cruising around on their ships, checking for illegal boats entering our waters, stuff like that. Did a lot of training with. Say again? Yeah, exactly. So did a lot of boarding training with the Navy. Where one day we were doing some riot training, and the Navy personnel were playing, baddies or boat people, we want to call them. So, and the intel had come through was, they got knives and stuff like this. We're like, oh yeah, sweet, no dramas. It's all training. Well, this one Navy individual decided to play the game, and he actually had a knife on him, and he decided to flash towards us. And as he's done that, he's actually cut open my hand. So I took it upon myself to grab my baton and rearrange his ribcage.
Fuck, dude. You're telling me this dude
impressed.
he was trying to play the opposition, but instead of like pretending and like you guys getting your training in, he actually had a knife, flashed at you, connected, cut you.
Yeah.
I'm fully for fucking him up.
Well, here's the thing. How are you supposed to know that he's screwing around? If somebody pulls a knife on you, okay,
Fuck, dude.
there's no such thing as friendly fire. Right?
Exactly. And so, playing at the top end of Australia, the Navy decks of the ship were nice and warm. So got him on the ground, ensure his face had a nice imprint of the surface of the ship. And he walked away with a few broken ribs.
Now, what's the punishment for something like that?
Oh, apparently he just got carried away in the exercise, and the punishment was a broken ribs.
Okay.
Yeah, so military,
they just kind of went, look, you lost your mind. You paid the price for it. We're done.
Exactly.
Military is kind of different. Like, if you were to do that in law enforcement training and bring a knife, I mean, you'd probably get fucking suspended and if not fired. In the military, I had an M16 pointed at my chest on an accident, right? I mean, he didn't bring it up. Well, I'm going to fucking kill you, because we would have killed him, or he would have been, if he lived, and he would have been kicked out, right? But I had in a live fire, I'm up, they see me, I'm down training. The dude fucking turned around with his shit up because the block instructor was talking to us, who was running us through the drills, and we were all in the fleet. He fucking turns around. Woof, I'm right behind him. I didn't have a chance to fucking react. The fucking block, all you see is this is Sparta coming, big ass fucking Danner boot. Center punched this dude right in the fucking chest, and they beat his ass and stripped him of his weapon and sent him back to the barracks, and he got fucked up. But that was it. That was his punishment, was an ass beating.
Yeah, nobody reported it. They just handled it.
Right. Yeah. Just a lot of shit in the military that it just gets handled like which you wish you could do in law enforcement and just whoop someone's ass and take them to fucking church. Used to, but not anymore.
So let's talk about, before we get to your story. Let's because I mean, you've already started dropping stories on us. Let's talk about you said engineers.
Correct.
Now, I know what the engineers do in our armed forces, and I would be assuming it's similar in the Australian armed forces. But why don't you enlighten us and explain to us what they actually do, so that we all kind of get, because there are some people out there that probably think engineers are drawing plans and inventing things, and it's like, no, it's not. We're not talking about mechanical engineers that go to college and learn math and design buildings and inventions. And no, military engineers, the Army Corps of Engineers, at least for us, is very different. So what do Australian military engineers do?
Yeah, I think they're very, very similar. So our corps is pretty large in what we can do, but generally it's a lot of bridge building, either water crossings, mobility, counter mobility in the field environment, but also providing a lot in the last 15, 20 years of high research in the way of IEDs, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Nuclear biological warfare, so a lot of gas work. And then we also got the plant side of stuff where we can build runways, towns, all sorts of stuff. We're a pretty diverse corps.
It sounds like the Army Corps of Engineers as well, but
similar.
In some cases, like we have guys that we've interviewed that are just doing the IED explosive side of engineers, and they don't go anywhere near the construction building side of engineers. Now, is that similar for you guys, where you do one or the other?
So it's generally one or the other. We still have our trades. That's a separate part. So your plumbers, chippies, sparkies, stuff like that. But then you have our field engineers, or FEs, that are our go-to for high research, a lot of the hands-on type labour to assist the actual technical trades of plumbers, chippers, and stuff like that. But they also do a lot of the mobility, counter mobility, field, like gin lashings, that style of the more infantry style works as well. Work. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I know for us, for our engineers in the Marine Corps, they're all trained in like how to erect a bridge if need be, and they've done it in country. But it all serves the purpose of the war or whatever climate that they're in. So they're in an area that's highly dense with IEDs. They have the like this ground mover fucking thing that looks like an M1 Abrams that has a claw on the front, or like a big grate that actually will fucking blow up mines. It'll hit the mines, it'll blow up, and then it'll shoot stakes out the back to give you a good path. And then we have in the Navy, we have I don't know what the Army does, but I can speak for the Marine Corps and the Navy. But the Navy has CBs. And those dudes, they erect fucking everything. Like they build shit. Like that's what I think people think of when they're like, oh, an engineer. They think of what CBs do. And those fucking guys, those are like just construction workers that carry guns. Like they're wild. And they don't really do anything.
Well, the CBs, I think, aren't they like very similar to the Army Corps of Engineers, but just for the Navy, right? Like when you see the Army guys that build,
they do a lot of building shit. As opposed to like when there's a war going on, like
somebody that wants to come on, tell us.
Yeah, no, he's dead.
They have a cool logo.
Yeah, the CBs are fucking awesome. Those dudes are fucking legit. But our guys, they taught us fucking crazy that I went through a school with our combat engineers in the Marine Corps, and they ran us through a demo school for fucking 2 weeks. I think it was 2 weeks. and we learned how to make mines. We learned how to fucking play with C4 and make salto charges and Bangalore mines and fucking blow stuff up and how to do all that cool shit. And I was like, the fuck, you guys are fucking combat engineers. What the fuck? Like, oh no, we don't just build bridges. We do this shit too, but it all depends upon what the needs of the military are. And they were running fucking courses and stuff for us going through.
You put a building up, we can take one down just as easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's much like us.
Versatile.
We cover demolitions as well, so we can do a lot of reserve dems as well. We will go into a location, for example, a bridge, wire it all up, set off the side at time needed, drop it. But yeah, we improvised explosives as well, so we make up our own.
I think of like Dirty Dozen and
munitions.
stuff like that, where they're like, this bridge is a tactical point, and we're going to send you, and you're going to have to wire it up, and you're going to have to blow the bridge when the time comes.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's cool shit.
yeah. So yeah, no, it was good fun. I enjoyed it.
Now, what kinds of things, just for maybe somebody who's looking at different jobs in the military, what kinds of things when you get out? You'd say you retire from the military, or you just serve your tour and you get out. What does that carry over to, do you think?
When it's better now and it's getting better. I got out in 2013, and pretty much I was a glorified council worker. A lot of my skill sets didn't transfer out into civilian street. That's a whole new hurdle altogether. It's getting better now. These days, as members are getting out, they're going through transition seminars. They're actually getting funding to do courses to help educate them. And now a lot of the stuff that's been done within the military is being recognised from the outside as well. Whereas when I got out, it was a lot of it was set up so they didn't transition to the outside world. So it kind of forced you to stay in if you wanted to have any kind of trade.
Do you think that was
you.
by design?
I think so. I think they worked out that, especially in the technical trade streams like plumbing, carpentry, and stuff like that, they were leaving core modules out, which wouldn't give them a nationally recognised accreditation when they got out. So they'd have to go through an RPL process, do further education to gain the qualifications that they had while they were in. So I think a lot of guys and girls just almost putting the too hard basket and go, well, I'll just stay in. It's already been paid reasonably well to do the role while I'm in here, and if I get out, I've got nothing.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
it's similar
Yeah.
to what we go through.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it's getting better from what I'm hearing. It's gotten a lot better over the years, but it's hopefully someone listens along the line, and yeah.
Crazy to think that you're all the way in Australia in different military. I was in the military over here in the United States, but they're equally as fucked when it comes to things that transfer out into civilian world, unless you're like a doctor or like a nurse or something like that. But even our docs, they were basically medics. They're paramedics, right? But when they get out, I don't believe that they have their paramedic thing. I think they can go to school and get it easier because they have like all the course hours and stuff like that. So all they have to do is go take the test, but nothing gets transferred over for the most part. And I think the same thing goes for like the HVAC stuff and all those guys. Like they have all the training and stuff. The only thing they have to do when they get out is go take a test, but they shouldn't have to. They should be nationally recognized by the time they get out.
Yeah.
Like our medics should come out, fucking full-fledged paramedics, not have to do a damn thing. They just have to give their paperwork to the fucking, the government, and they go, hey,
Yeah.
I'm a paramedic, and they go, boom, you're a paramedic. But it's so crazy. Like you should be training our young generation coming out who took time out of their life that they didn't have to do because there's no obligation, right, for us and U.S. to serve in the military, and they took time out to go serve. They should be able to have those things that they worked for when they got out, right?
No, exactly right. They've already done the training. They've already got the hands-on experience. They shouldn't be forced to then have to continue their education to do the same role they've been doing for X amount of time in the military. It should just be a given.
Yeah, I agree.
I remember being pleasantly surprised that my credits from the police academy, there were some colleges that would recognize not only my academy experience, but also my training, and they would give you credit for the training you got while you were a police officer, while you were in the academy, and all that kind of stuff. So at least when I went to get my degree, I wasn't starting from zero. But it should absolutely be, education is education is education. It doesn't matter that you didn't get it on a university campus. In fact, in some ways, you got it in the real world, which is much better.
Yeah, exactly right. I'm studying now while I'm recovering, and I'm currently going through the process of the education part of it all, of like the onboarding and recruitment and hiring and firing and legislation, all that kind of stuff. And the worst part is, I'm like, well, I've done this. I've lived this and I've done it for a job, but because I don't have the bit of paper that says that I've done it, I'm back to square one, having to jump through the hoops to get the certification again.
Right.
Oh yeah, makes sense, dude. Funny thing, when I got injured, I went through the same thing, and I was like, I'm gonna finish my degree. And so, coming from law enforcement, I came from the military, so I already had all those credits that they would give you if you were law enforcement or military, just all the general ed, the PE, all that bullshit, right? And it just kind of absolved it. But there was core stuff like your majors, your major courses, right, where you have to take for the degree that you're getting. And I was like, dude, I've done all this. Like, I should just be. There should be something that I can just show them, like, hey, I've done report writing, I've done X, Y, and Z, but there wasn't. So I literally went through the last year of my school, because that's all I had left. Didn't open a fucking book once. Wrote from experience. Mm-hmm. Cited fucking sources that I knew, mm-hmm. and passed every course with an A.
Yeah,
that's pretty much my mindset now. That's pretty much my mindset now. It's just like just as I'm answering these Q&As. Just start answering from life experience as opposed to doctrine, because I'm 41 now and I've lived a life already, kind of thing. It's like, well, just got to wordsmith it and make it count.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
absolutely.
I'm anxious to hear what other stories you have to share, and we spent so much time talking about education. Let's get to the good shit.
Yeah, mate. Well, I've got a couple of little stories. I don't really have one big major story sort of thing. So after I finished that border patrol, which was more like a piss drinking trip, I did a tour over in Timor, like East Timor, which is just above Australia. We went back in 06, 07. We'd been in there since the 90s, helping them through civil unrest and everything else. We pulled out of there as a country. They asked us to go back in. My understanding, and I'm happy to be proven wrong, but I think I'll be accurate, that when the Timorese government asked us to go back in 06, the Australian government turned around and said, no, stand on your own 2 feet, unless you give us a high percentage of your oil field. Because Timor Sea produces a lot of crude oil. And they said no. Within 24 hours, they turned around and said, all right, we'll give you X amount. And the Australian government said, yep, all right, we'll see you in 24 hours. I was on the first push back into Timor back in 06. Few gangs are running wild and trying to take over. The government was corrupt, police was corrupt, and it was just complete civil unrest. It was a bit of an eye-opener as my first proper, it wasn't warlike, it was what they considered non-warlike, but it was still civil unrest, rioting, gang fights, looting, towns being burnt to the ground, IDP camps. So it was a good eye-opener.
An IDP?
International displaced persons.
They
pretty much just homeless people. So entire suburbs just look like shanty towns with all these people that had lost.
Is that because they were all burnt to the fucking ground due to the civil unrest?
Correct. So that was
internationally displaced people. In reality, they're fucking people that are left homeless because their neighborhoods have been destroyed by war and rioting.
Yeah, exactly right. And then you have all these NGOs walk in, these non-government organisations like
Red Cross,
UN Aid, and all the rest of the
UNICEF.
And and I learned just how corrupt they are.
Oh my God. That's a whole other episode.
Exactly. But they're all in there waving the white flag, and they're doing absolutely fucking nothing to help these people. And there was a lot of the writing still going on. So there's a lot of wasn't so much long arm or pistol type, but it was all very farm type weaponry with machetes and a
Fucking
lot
brutal.
of hacking. Yeah, and they'd make their own blow darts out of say 4 6-inch nails. They'd
What the fuck?
they'd heat
Holy
the tip,
shit.
hammer it flat, put a hook on it like you see on a fishing hook, so it would go in, but it wouldn't come out. And
Have like a barb.
but yeah, so they'd fire them at each other, and then they'd fire them at us because we're trying to break them up. And yeah, I remember one night I was sitting on a just on a guard duty at the front gate, and it was absolutely pitch black, and you couldn't see your hand in front of your face, kind of thing. And all of a sudden, you just hear this, pitter patter up the road, kind of thing, and it's just like, okay, that's different. And then all of a sudden, this naked Timorese man goes screaming past us, just absolutely starkers. And next thing you know, there's about 40 or 50 guys chasing him down the road. He did something wrong or pissed someone off, but didn't get a chance to put clothes on before he had to bug out. So that was comical. We're just sitting there going, right, yeah, that's a bit different. But then
It's not a big place.
Say again.
Like Timor is not a big place.
No, it's not. It's not overly that big. But yeah, they just couldn't stand their own 2 feet because the government, police, and everything was corrupt. They gave room for these militia to come through and just start taking what they want.
Right.
Was this more of like an indigenous community?
Yeah, there's definitely like they are their own people. It's not multi-race kind of thing. You had your pretty much Timorese. It's right on the border of some other countries, so there was always a lot of issue around the borders and who owned what land, and they've been fighting for a long time. But within themselves, you had a couple of these militia groups trying to take power, and they'd all fight each other. And unfortunately, people get caught up in the middle, and that's what we're kind of brought in to try and slow down, if not stop.
Tribal people fighting for power like warlords. That's
yeah, no, and that's exactly it. Yeah, that's exactly it. So one day we had civilian chefs working these, I guess, FOBs where we're situated. It was Christmas time, so it made these rum balls. But what the officers didn't know is we'd worded him up to actually, these guys are free to move as they see fit, to actually put rum in the rum balls. So,
I mean,
come Christmas time, you got all these diggers hanging around these fridges, just absolutely smashing these rum balls, and no one could work out why. And by the end of the day, you end up 2 parts pissed, smashing all this. That all diabetic, but there was a riot later that day, and we're all trying to drive 4 drives down to where this riot had broken out.
Chip fade.
And yeah, it was interesting.
That's awesome.
Yeah, interesting is a word.
So, yeah, probably wouldn't get away with it these days. But look, it was a good deployment. I remember we're in the middle of one riot, and one of our senior NCOs, she'd panicked driving a 4-wheel drive. She'd been surrounded, and she accidentally ran over this poor bugger on a moped.
Oh shit!
The jokes,
yeah,
themselves, ladies and gentlemen.
Like a Humvee?
No, it's like a light armored 4-wheel drive kind of thing, like a little Land Rover. And
okay.
We're just standing there watching it, just going, she didn't do that. And next thing you know, because old mate is still hanging off the bull bar, she's panicked, gone to reverse.
No,
fucking hanging on.
Yeah, gone back over him, and then because she's felt the bump of him under the wheel, she's panicking, gone forward again. So this poor bugger still hanging on for friggin' what's
went
left
over
of
him
him.
3 times.
Yeah. Anyway, to make it even funnier, this, I say funny because black humor gets through some shitty spots, but this poor bugger then goes to stand up, and his whole shin bone just tore straight through his leg. I'm just like, well,
Fuck, dude.
I'll give you A for
Oh.
effort, but
Okay, well, first of all, he's
execution, mate.
alive.
Oh yeah, no, he was screaming. Yeah, so we're just standing there watching it. It's just like a comical show. It's just like, oh, she's got him. Oh God, she's going back over him. Oh no, she's got him again. Oh fuck me, he's standing up. Oh, he won't be now. That's disgusting.
Oh my God, dude. Man, to think that she just like fuck, dude. Honestly, I've seen something like that in person on the job in law enforcement, and
Yeah.
it's funny when it's not happening to you.
Oh yeah,
Fuck, dude.
it wasn't me.
But it's not happening to you.
It's like, no, that didn't just happen. That's not fucking real. No, how the fuck does it happen? And I watched another cop get ran over by another female at a perimeter that we were running to.
Was it cop on cop?
It was cop on cop.
Yeah.
It was her partner.
Oh,
fuck.
Yeah, we're running to I think it was a code 37 stolen vehicle, and come up to the perimeter. The car fucking guy bails. She goes to throw it into park, doesn't put it into park. She leaves it in drive, so she just hits the brake. She doesn't throw it up. She just hammers the brake, pops out, and partner's already out. Right. Partner's out. Or she threw it into reverse. I'm sorry. I think she threw it into reverse, and he gets out and he stands behind the door. And then all of a sudden the fucking car starts moving back. So instead of hopping in, she just let the car run over him. And then someone else had to run in and get in the car because the fucking police vehicle was running over this poor bastard. And
she just jumped. Was she unable to jump back in? It sounds like she was just in the car and she was like panic. I don't know.
Way better.
Like, fuck. Oh my God, what direction do I go?
Your shin bone popped out. Fuck me.
Yeah, no, it was very interesting. Like, yeah, go watch him stand up, and we're like, just observing. Like, I probably would want to do that, mate. And next thing you know, goes to stand up, and whoosh, go, out she comes.
Fuck, dude. It's like those dudes in the UFC who break their shin on a shin kick, and they get checked, and they snap it, and they go to stand. And you just watch it just whoop.
Goop. I can literally tell you the call where I stopped being able to handle videos or pictures where bones are broken. Like it's not, if I have to deal with it, I'll deal with it. But if I don't have to deal with it, I'm not going to voluntarily look at that stuff anymore. And it was I literally can remember the call that did it to me, where I was just like, "Yep, I don't ever need to see that again." Oh my God, it's hilarious. I mean, it's not. It was awful, but
it's funny now.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's so when I laugh about this stuff, I laugh about the effect it had on me. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I think about the effect it had on this kid. Well, I guess I might as well just tell it. So one of my partners was rolling code 3 to a fire. Because, the fire guys weren't awake yet. Or if they maybe they were putting away their, root beer floats and turning off the TV. But he was rolling code 3 to this fire at 2 a.m. down a dark highway out of town. So you had to take this highway, and it had street lights up to a point, and then once you were like reaching the point where you're leaving town, there was no more street lights. And he, at the very end, towards the end of town, he had to hook a left to go to this house that was on fire. And a stupid ass 17-year-old kid had snuck out of his house and taken his dirt bike out for a joyride to see a friend of his. And as he's riding back into town on this, highway, he comes out of the blackness out of nowhere as the police car is coming around the bend to turn the left turn onto this street, code 3, and the bike goes straight into the push bars, and he goes up over the hood and cracks his helmet on the spotlight that's, on the driver's side of the car. And I just remember my partner putting out, I just TC'd into a motorcycle running code 3. Get me medics now. It's like, well, shit, they're already going to the fire, boy. So I get there, And here's this 17-year-old kid, helmet's completely cracked, like it's split in half, basically saved his life. And he's laying on the ground trying to get up. Well, he had broken his leg in 5 places. And so he had like 2 femur fractures, a knee fracture, and 2 tibia fractures, and then his ankle. And so he was trying to stand up, but his leg was unable to move at the foot. It was only able to move at the hip. So his left leg was moving. As his right leg tried to move, it would bring up the femur at the hip, but then it wasn't connected to anything, so it would flop because the foot wouldn't come off the ground. So as he tried to stand up, all you see is this rope of a leg just flipping and flopping to the left and to the right. And I'm going, oh my, don't stand up, dude. And he's trying to stand up. So we pin him down to the ground to keep him from standing up. And I'm holding his right arm. My partner's holding his left arm to keep this kid from standing up. And then he just starts screaming in agony. And I'm going, what the fuck just happened? Like, obviously he's in pain, but he was trying to stand up, and now he's just screaming. Well, we didn't know both of his forearms were broken. So as soon as we started to pin him to the ground, we pin these broken bones with our hands to keep him from standing up on this messed up leg. And he starts screaming, I want my mommy, I want my mommy. And 17-year-old kid, which is terrible. And it's like, all right, get him loaded into the bus. I got to go notify the parents. Everybody else is still going to the fire. So I go wake dad up at 2:30 in the morning, and I'm like, sir, I want to tell you your son's alive, but he's been in an accident. He's like, he snuck his motorcycle out. No headlight. No. I mean, it's a dirt bike. No headlights, nothing. 2 a.m, just completely blacked out. And so that's how he ended up striking this police car, blah, blah, blah. I said, does your wife live with you, sir? Because your son is asking for his mother. And that was the gut punch, was when the dad looked at me, and I knew this kid had been screaming for his mom, and the dad looked at me and said, his mom's been dead for 2 years. And it just dawned on me the amount of agony that this kid must have been in. And all he wanted was his mom. And the kid either was so completely fucked mentally or in so much pain it didn't matter that he couldn't remember his mom was dead. And he was just screaming, I want my mom. And I was like, fuck. So then I go back to the station to hang out with my partner, who's the one that hit him. And that was it. That was like, I never have to see a compound fracture. I don't ever need to see broken bones again. I'm good. That one will care. That one will stay with me. The rope leg will stay with me for the rest of my life. And I've seen bones sticking out. I can still handle pictures of bones sticking out, but watching it snap, watching it flop like that, looking at bones like a rubber band. Now I'm done. I'm good. If I could deal with it if I have to, but if somebody sends me an MMA video of somebody snapping their leg, I'm like, no, I'll take a pass.
Fair call too.
Well.
No, so that was probably the Timor wasn't too bad. It was just different. It was a bit of a warm up for Afghan when I ended up being deployed to Afghanistan. That was a whole new level altogether.
Yeah, you think? Timor and Afghanistan are
yeah. We were based out of Tarin Kowt in a multinational facility based in Tarin Kowt, but we didn't spend a lot of time on the larger base. We were more so out and about building the FOBs and those style of works. Our main role in Afghanistan was meant to be a reconstruction task force, but I guess it was a very old mentality of, if we build stuff for them, they'll appreciate us and they'll stop trying to kill us, kind of thing, or they'll stop fighting, or they won't be ruled by the Taliban because it's down their own feet.
Hey, don't shoot at us. We built you a school.
Yeah, didn't quite work that way. But yeah, that was very interesting of a tour. It wasn't a overly kinetic tour, but we'd still have rockets come in. There's the old, I think it was 107 millimeter Chinese rockets,
All right.
and they were very accurate. You learn very quickly to respect the enemy in the sense that anyone that can put a rocket up against a couple of rocks and use a timer out of a washing machine to have a delayed fuse and put it 2-3 k's away and get it within 50 meters of its target. Like you've got to give them a level of respect. But it was funny because when you talk to other people that aren't military or LEO, and you try and explain that, when we got our first rocket attack, that it was like a sigh of relief, like we're here to do our job, we can actually get the job done now. But you say it to civvies, and then he's like, "You're mad." It's like, well, no, like we're doing our job, like that's what we're waiting for. Almost
Right.
the first gunfight. It was like until you get that first fight out of the way, everyone's just narking at each other. Everyone's stress and anxiety through the roof.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time we got rocketed, you'd hear the boys cheering. And I remember just sitting back, just listening, just going, if anyone was on the outside looking in right now, they'd think we're all nuts.
Right.
Because it's just that sigh of relief that, wait, okay, now we can do our job. We can do what we're here to do. But it was funny because one day we were down off one of the fobs we just built off the Chora Valley, Bellucci Valley, and whoever sighted it, an officer of some description, put us on this little spurline feature, but just probably within 100 meters of where we situated was one of those shallow grave sites.
Oh.
So it was one of those family orientated grave sites, and some of the things you'd hear of at night time come from that direction, like was just really eerie.
Like people crawling out.
Yeah, mate. I'll tell you what. I'm not an overly religious person, but I'll tell you what. Like, there's got to be more out there than what we can see, kind of thing. Because some of the things you hear and think you see or you don't see, it's just kind of like, okay, there's something else going on here.
Like what?
But
Like
just like
ghosts?
you can just say again.
Like ghosts?
Yeah, like it's just really weird and hard to describe. Like you think you see something, you look back there and you don't see it, or
You're preaching to the choir. I believe in it. So you can tell me you saw whatever you, and I
yeah.
will.
Oh, mate, it's just absolutely mind blowing. It's like, okay, sweet, we've got this massive desert, and you're going to put a FOB right on a fucking graveyard? Like, are you kidding me?
Right.
So,
Hey, we've all seen those movies, you know.
Oh, mate, I'll tell you what. But it was.
Is it like people?
One day
you think you see people standing there, and then they're not standing there?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, I'm either super tired or something else is going on.
Well, once super tired, multiple times is not super tired.
Yeah. See, we were there for summer too, so you'd only have 3 hours of darkness. And typical military is like, oh, if it's daylight, you can work.
No shit.
And then when
only
it's not,
3 hours of darkness.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. Like 3 hours of complete darkness. So they're like, oh well, the sun's up, you can work. And then when you're not working, you can do double staggered picket because that's what we do. Like, okay, sweet. But
fuck.
Yeah, we're down the bottom one day, and we'd have ICOM chatter, which is like a we had the interpreters sitting in the back of one of the vehicles with some technology way above my pay grade, but we could listen into the ICOM chatter that are surrounding us.
Right.
And we could hear these Taliban going, oh, yeah, look, there's X amount there. They're moving into position. They're doing this. They've got this much machinery, and they're literally identifying us with what we're wearing, how we're moving, the amount of machinery we got, and they're watching us and moving into a targeted attack. Anyway, We're sitting there listening to them, and by this stage, we had enough evidence within our rules of engagement to take out the spotter. Anyway, the ICOM
so you knew where the spotter was.
Yeah, well, the technology that we had would give you a bearing in a rough distance as to where the chatter was coming from.
So you kind of knew where to look.
Yeah, exactly. So we had fast air on channel, and they've come along, done a few gun runs, and then the idiot decides to get back on the radio and going, "Oh, they missed. Oh, it's great. Oh, it's great." So you see the fast air turn around and drop 2 500-pound bombs and level the feature. Needless to say, there was no more chatter after that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
Is why you use encrypted fucking radios.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But,
measure twice, cut once. If it doesn't fit, get a bigger hammer.
Yeah, but just to hear him go, "Oh, they missed," it's just like, "Oh, you're an idiot. Like, why wouldn't you keep your mouth shut?"
That's like, "Oh, yes, you got me. I'm dying."
Exactly.
That's awesome.
But they were smart in how they operated too, because they would learn our ROEs. And at times I'd say they probably knew them better than us. So they do the old shoot and boot. Shoot at us, drop their weapons around the back of a hut, walk out and go, "Oh, no, it wasn't us." Because they're not armed and a direct threat, you just got to let them pass kind of thing, which is very frustrating. But it's just one of those things. That's just the frustrations of war. Like, that they know your role better than you.
Yeah. Well, that's similar to police officers dealing with gang members or experienced criminals who know just how far they can push it and what you are and are not allowed to do to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
It's always the best, that vindicating feeling though, when they think they know it and they don't. They have it just quite there, and they do something, and then you're like, "Oh, you're fucking mine, dude." And they're like, "Well, you can't do this." Like, the fuck I can.
Yeah, my favorite one, and this is, I'm not giving away secrets. You're dumb if you fucking believe this, but my favorite one was always, "If you're undercover, you have to tell me." No, I fucking don't. I absolutely do not. I can fucking lie my ass off. But people believe that shit. So yeah, I tell people one of the most frustrating things about any ROE, whether it's military or police or whatever, when you see a fucking bad guy, and I mean, you should get a degree in human psychology or in bad guy psychology by the time you've done the job long enough, right? You know a fucking bad guy when you see one. Like, I know you were shooting at me. I know you were just robbing this place. I know you were just burglar. I know you're dealing dope. I know it. Mm-hmm. I fucking know it. I can't prove it, but I fucking know it.
You get good at reading body language.
Yeah. But you have to let them go. And it's knowing bad guys are bad guys and being powerless to do anything about it until you sometimes just get lucky and catch them in the act. We used to say we only catch the dumb ones. Well, I'm sure it's the same. Allah is great. They missed me. The only reason you smacked that dude with 2 500-pound bombs is because he didn't have the common sense that God gave a donkey to stay off the radio. If he'd have just shut the hell up, they wouldn't have. They'd have assumed they got him.
Yep.
We only catch the.
We had a few close calls during that tour. We're going back to Tarankout, the main multinational base, and we'll pretty much refitting to go back out the next day. Anyway, the geeks had come down to the compound, and they're looking at our vehicles, and they're going, "Oh, have you guys been out yet?" Like, "Yeah, we've just come back and we're going back out again soon." He goes, "Oh, how far did you go?" We're like, "Oh, we've been out for the last few months." And they're like, "Yeah, okay." The problem is that the ECM, like the electronic countermeasures that was meant to be on the vehicles to stop any kind of remote detonation for IEDs, none of it had been working. So we were under the false pretense that the ECM on our vehicles were working, but we've been out playing games in the desert with no actual electronic countermeasure protection at all.
Right.
So that was a bit of an eye-opener.
Yeah, it's always nice to know that all the stuff you assumed was working for you is not in place.
Exactly. It's like, oh well, you didn't get it so far, so just keep going.
And that's the other thing too, is now you're pot committed, right? There's no, like, now you're almost like, I wish I didn't know that, because I was much happier when I thought it was working.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh God.
That we're building this river crossing, which was like an all-weather river crossing. I remember the comical part of it was the bags of cement, because we were just mixing everything on hand, by hand on site kind of thing. The bags of cement that we were loading up were 50-kilo bags, but they were literally printed on it, made in Pakistan, not to be used in Pakistan. It's just like,
made in Pakistan, also not to be used in Pakistan.
I'm just like, what's going on here? Like,
this was Pakistanis like, we don't want you to use it against us.
Yeah, it's just like, what's in this shit? Like, if they're not allowed to use it in their own country, then it must be full of the good stuff.
Right.
But
I like the COVID test that say made in China, and I'm like, we know.
Yeah, exactly. But down there one day we got rocketed and some direct fire and stuff like that. But this one day, the interpreter's been saying for a while, oh yeah, suicide bomber. Like, yeah, okay. Saying it for a while now. The intel reports are coming through saying they're starting to do more probing attacks and stuff like that. All right, no dramas. And this one day, this herp come out of the tree area, white as a ghost. I'm like, well, what's going on, mate? And he's like, suicide bomber. I'm like, yeah, okay, we've heard that. Next thing you know, you see two males walking down the creek bed. One was a probably 80-year-old gentleman. One was I don't know, 8-year-old boy kind of thing. And one was exactly. One was the the old poker face, slide the hand, let one through kind of thing. Long story short, I was just testing out TTPs on how it react, how close they could get to the main body of men working kind of thing. But it was it was a probing attack to actually see how close they could get to us before they could push the real thing in.
Right.
It was just lucky that yeah, exactly. It was just lucky the Turk went white as a ghost, because if it wasn't for that, we probably wouldn't have listened to him. But yeah, that was an interesting day. I remember walking up to him, trying to ascertain if it was the real deal or just a dry run. And I remember just thinking to my daughter as I'm walking up, going, well, the last thing going through my head is her face kind of thing. But just those little things. They, at the end of the day, they all bank up and they play havoc on your head. And back then, like my brother's still in these days, and it's gotten a lot better. But back then, there was no such thing as mental health or anything like that. You got home, get your mouth shut, and continue the fight, kind of thing.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, it just it doesn't matter what you do. If you go over and you put yourself in harm's way, you are exposing yourself to crazy shit. There's no reason why it wasn't that day, other than it wasn't that day, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You've talked to cops. Why are you alive? Well, because the guy didn't decide to kill me.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of survivors, I guess, guilt, especially with law enforcement and military. There's definitely a lot of it, why them, not me, or, why didn't I fucking die on that call, or, what?
Yeah.
There's a bunch of that,
Right.
Even, and people are like, oh, but you lived and everything is good and you should feel better. And you're like, but it's still mind fucking to be like, I came so fucking close.
Right.
How the fuck did that not just end poorly?
Yeah. For anybody that wants to see this moment of realization played out on film, go watch Pulp Fiction. And towards the end of the movie, guy comes out of the bathroom and blasts at Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta from feet away. And yes, I know the editing's bad and the bullet holes appear behind them before he actually pulls the trigger. But what Samuel L. Jackson ends up saying is, we should be dead. We should be dead. And he starts talking about how divine intervention, it's a miracle, all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, you can't escape this realization of, I should be dead. I have no explanation for why I am not dead. And hence the expression, there are no such thing as atheists in a foxhole.
Yeah.
And I guess one of those hard things too is that the longer you do the job, or the longer you're deployed, or the more deployments you do, you almost feel like you're stretching that elastic band to a point where it's got to break at some point. And what's that going to look like? Is it going to be an injury, or is it going to be death?
Right. I've gotten away with it this long. I can't get away with it much longer. And
then you almost go, I'll probably carry it today where, like, oh, well, I'm not dead yet, so why am I going to slow down now, kind of thing. But, nothing's killed me yet. And
then you start getting a little self-destructive.
Yeah, and you probably take risks that you wouldn't normally take.
Yep. I'm invincible.
You start poking the bear.
Mm-hmm.
Then at some point the bear bites, and you're like, "Well, that was silly." But like I think I was in country for it wasn't even a week or a month. I don't remember. But an Australian soldier was killed, and it was a guy from Sydney, and his son was in the same class as my daughter. They both went to the same school, and they were in like kindy year one kind of thing. And I remember my wife at the time telling me, like, the son had gone to school and said, "Oh, my dad died in Afghanistan," and my daughter heard that, and she broke down and went, "Well, that's where my dad is." Obviously 1 and 1 equals kind of thing. So it's hard trying to carry the weight from back home at the same time as well as trying to do your job. It carries a massive burden. Like my daughter, she was a day and a half old when I joined the military. And I probably missed more of her life in those 10 years than I was around.
Yeah. They say
it's only been
oh no, good.
It's only been recent times where I've actually started to build that relationship again.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately it didn't work out with her mother and I. Things got quite nasty after I got home. I wasn't well. I didn't know what it was. Obviously, the demons get the better of you sometimes. And back then it was, just get on with your job, don't talk about it, and men don't cry kind of thing.
Right.
And the boys that did. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna finish your thought, then I have something to say.
I was just gonna say, like, when we did get home, one of the boys did step up and go, "I'm not doing well," and the army's response was put him in a like a normal hospital bed on a military base under 24/7 suicide watch.
Mm-hmm. And make him feel even clear.
That makes it worse.
Exactly. That cost him his career, cost him his family. So everyone else just shut shop and closed their mouths.
Sure.
So, I'm fine.
Familiar.
Everyone knows how to answer the questions. Getting home, yep, I'm eating, I'm sleeping. Honeymoon phase. Everything's great. Not drinking that much. When in reality, it's the other way around.
Yep. You're drinking to cope and everything. But so as we're getting ready to close out, I want to ask one thing, and then we'll get into our dedication. But you said you weren't doing hot, and the demons were getting the better of you. You're obviously doing a lot better now. What can you tell other people that may be struggling now, and how you overcame what you were going through?
It's not weak to speak.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is. You think you're the only one out there going through it. I promise you now you're not.
Yeah. That's what this show proves, if anything else.
No, exactly right. And you know what? If someone's going to give you crap for speaking up, then they're not a true friend.
Yeah, fuck them,
brother. Exactly. They're not worth your time.
Yep. I learned who my real friends were when I left.
Say again, sorry?
I realized I learned who my real friends from the department were when I had to leave.
Yep. No, exactly. There's a lot of people that I thought were my brothers, and they're not.
Yeah.
And it's a harsh reality. But if you want to better yourself, you can't hang around people like that.
Yep. Well, I guess Jimmy is not providing a dedication in this episode, but Chuck does have one.
Yeah. So this is not an on-duty related death. This is I just got off work, which I think should be on-duty related, but for some reason they don't have it categorized in ODMP. An officer was leaving work and going home and died. An off-duty LAPD officer died on his way home from work on the 210 freeway crash. An off-duty Los Angeles police officer was killed on his way home from work early Saturday when the car he was driving collided with the back of a stalled semi-truck on the 210 freeway in Baldwin Park, police said. Officer Vladimir Sandoval was driving his 2018 Honda around 0230 when the accident occurred. Police said the truck was stalled in an eastbound lane of the freeway near Barranca Avenue. According to news release from California Highway Patrol, the driver of the truck, who had stopped while authorities investigated another collision ahead of him, had switched on the truck's hazard lights. According to CHP, the truck driver was not injured. LAPD Police Chief Michael Moore identified Sandoval in a tweet Saturday morning and said the department was grieving our loss of a peacemaker. Sandoval was 38 and worked in the police department, Central Division. It's with great sadness I shared that earlier this morning. A police officer on his way home from work was involved in a traffic collision on the 210 freeway, Moore said in a statement. I send my deepest condolences to his family and loved ones and friends as we mourn this tragedy.
Well, rest easy, brother. We've got it from here.
It's always rough when you hear of an officer who just got off work. We've all been there, been tired, maybe work overtime. And you've always had those near death fucking, oh shit, I just fell asleep and woke up.
Yeah, micro sleep.
Yeah. And then you wake up, you're like, ooh, fuck, I need to roll down my window, whatever. But
turn up the stereo, roll down my window, stomp my foot.
It's crazy. Like, hey, if you guys are out there and you're working, you just worked a long shift, you're tired. Fuck, take a little cat nap real quick.
Yeah, and be a good supervisor. If you're a fucking sergeant, tell your guys, hey, I don't want you out there unsafe. Come to the station, pull into the back lot. It's 3 a.m. Just turn your radio up, turn your lights off, and take a cat nap for, half hour, 45 minutes, and then go back out. Don't crash a patrol car and don't crash on the way home because your fucking supervisor doesn't recognize that sometimes it's really hard to stay up through the night, especially when you're not going call to call to call. And despite the fact that there are a lot of agencies that do go call to call to call, there are way more agencies that don't. And when they roll up them sidewalks, it gets real lonely at night. So rest easy.
Fortunately, he's working Central, so I don't know. Oof, that might be tough, but
and sometimes it's mentally like your brain is ready to shut off because you've seen too much. Yeah.
It's just I fucking feel for that man's family. I feel for his friends and everything because that's a tough one. We've all been tired and driving, and it gets scary sometimes.
Well, Jimmy, we always enjoy hearing from you, whether it's an email form or a direct message form, or especially having you on. I know you've got the rest of your day ahead of you, so I appreciate you coming on and dealing with the time difference. We all love having you on, and anytime you want to come on, you're more than welcome to. Hope your arm heals up pretty good, and let us know when you can get.
Yeah, thanks.
Driving.
Thanks, mate. Much appreciated. Always keen to come back on. Can alleviate on emails I've sent through.
Yeah, for sure.
Which will be a different topic altogether.
All different topics. I love those.
Yes.
Chuck, what do you got for us?
Say again?
What do you got for us?
Well, I just want to say thank you, Jimmy, for coming on. And we look forward to reading those emails as they come in. They're pretty funny, and some of them have been pretty real, So we're always here if anyone ever needs to talk or anything like that, and that goes for you too, man. But I want to say, everyone, thanks for listening today. If you like the podcast and the content we provide, please help us out by rating us and reviewing us on Apple Podcast or Spotify or whatever podcast platform you subscribe to. Our podcast is available on all major podcast streaming platforms as well as on YouTube. Reviews and ratings are how podcast platforms decide what to recommend. So your reviews, really help us grow the show.
Yeah.
Also, please give us a follow on Instagram at war_stories_official and our Facebook at War Stories Podcast. If you already follow us, please like and share our posts when we do post them. If you click the link in our bio on Instagram and Facebook, you'll be able to reach all of our socials, media sites, and our website. Another way to support us is by visiting our website at www.warstoriesofficial.com and grab some of our merch. We have some shirts, patches, and stickers, and Whoopi hoodies still available. If you think you have a story to tell and you want to be a guest on the show, please email your info and a brief description of your story to us at booking.warstories@gmail.com so I can get you booked. We are always looking for veterans, law enforcement, firefighters, and medics, but also corrections, dispatchers, and nurses.
Yeah.
If you have a friend who you think would be a great fit, let them know about us and give them our booking email. Again, thank you for the support. Stay safe.
And until our next episode, come home with your shield or on it.